In the town of Amstetten, Austria, 16-year-old girl vanished, leaving behind a brief letter as her final words. 24 years later, a shocking turn of events unfolds as she suddenly reappears, revealing the horrors of her ordeal to the world. The story commences with Josef Fritzl, born on April 9, 1935, in Austria. Raised as an only child by his hard-working mother, Maria, Josef's childhood was overshadowed by the absence of his alcoholic father, who deserted the family when Josef was just 4 years old. At 21, Josef Fritzl wed Rosemary in 1956, and they went on to have 3 sons and 4 daughters, including Elisabeth, born on April 6, 1966. It was during Elisabeth's early years that the disturbing pattern of Josef Fritzl's actions began to emerge. Fritzl's professional life saw him working in various roles, from electrical engineering to technical equipment sales, retiring at the age of 60 in 1995. Despite his seemingly ordinary existence, darker aspects lurked beneath the facade. The first troubling sign of Josef Fritzl's sinister inclinations surfaced in 1967 when he broke into the home of a 24-year-old nurse in Linz, Austria. Armed with a knife, Fritzl threatened the woman. This led to his arrest, and he served 12 months of an 18-month prison sentence. However, the darkness did not end there. In the same year, Fritzl was suspected of attempting to assault a 21-year-old woman and was known for indecent exposure. Despite these offenses, Austrian law expunged his criminal record after 15 years, enabling him to avoid scrutiny. Elisabeth, after completing her mandatory education at the age of 15, pursued a course to become a waitress. Fritzl and Elisabeth had a strained relationship and would often have heated arguments. Elisabeth couldn't bear the tense environment anymore. In January 1983, she fled from her family home and sought refuge in Vienna with a co-worker. However, within 3 weeks, the police located her and she was returned to her parents in Amstetten. On August 28, 1984, shortly after Elisabeth turned 18, Fritzl enticed her into the basement of their house, under the pretense of needing assistance with the door. Unbeknownst to Elisabeth, Fritzl had transformed the basement into a secret prison chamber. The door was the final piece needed to seal her fate. Once Elisabeth held the door in place while Fritzl installed it, he callously pressed an ether-soaked towel against her face until she lost consciousness. It was at this moment that Fritzl heartlessly cast her into the chamber he had meticulously constructed, condemning her to a hidden dungeon beneath their own family home. The deception did not end with Elisabeth's abduction. Following her disappearance, Rosemary, Fritzl's wife, filed a missing persons report. Almost a month later, to cover his tracks, Fritzl handed over a letter to the police, the first of many that he had coerced Elisabeth into writing during her captivity. The letter indicated that she was exhausted from living with her family and had sought refuge with a friend. She cautioned her parents against searching for her, warning that she would leave the country if they did. Fritzl informed the authorities that she had likely become involved with a cult. For the next 24 years, Fritzl visited the concealed chamber nearly every day or at least 3 times a week, providing food and other necessities. As you would guess it, this monster would not stop there. He began to sexually abuse his own daughter. Sick, I know. Eventually, Elisabeth gave birth to a total of 7 children while in captivity. 1 child passed away shortly after birth, while 3 others, Lisa, Monica, and Alexander, were taken from the chamber as infants to live with Fritzl and his wife, who were approved by local social services as foster parents. Fritzl could explain that Elisabeth had gotten pregnant and abandoned the children at their doorstep. This seemed enough to convince everyone. Social workers made regular visits to the family, yet nothing they observed or heard raised any suspicions. The captives had access to a television, radio, and video cassette player. Food could be stored in a refrigerator and cooked on hot plates. Elisabeth educated the children, teaching them how to read and write. doing the best with cards she was dealt. He made sure to keep his dark secret hidden, even from his own family. Fritzl would disappear into the basement every morning, pretending to work on machine plans while his wife remained oblivious upstairs. However, his house of cards would come tumbling down when Elisabeth's daughter fell gravely ill. She was so ill, they didn't think she'd make it. Elisabeth pleaded with Josef to take them to the hospital, and eventually he gave in. He threatened them into promising not to speak a word of the horror they endured. They would agree to anything to receive treatment. Together, they were taken upstairs, and Fritzl brought Elisabeth to the hospital, where Kirsten, Elisabeth's daughter, was receiving treatment. The state of Kirsten arose suspicion among doctors. Perhaps parental negligence? The police detained Fritzl and Elisabeth on the hospital grounds, leading to their subsequent questioning at a police station. It was during this intense interrogation that Elisabeth started revealing the horrifying details of her 24 years in captivity. Fritzl was arrested on April 26, 2008. DNA evidence confirmed that Fritzl was the biological father of Elisabeth's children. As the investigation progressed, the police were shocked by the intricacies of the hidden chamber, where Elisabeth and her children were held captive. The Fritzl property in Amstetten, which dates back to around 1890, underwent modifications after 1978, when Fritzl obtained a building permit for an extension with a basement. Building inspectors who visited the site in 1983 unknowingly verified the dimensions of the new extension as specified on the permit. This goes to show Fritz had premeditated this plan, perhaps for years, taking time to carefully craft his sick plan. This whole case makes me sick to my stomach. How an innocent girl's life was tarnished by a man who was meant to protect her. But let me know, what are your thoughts on this case?